love you.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Welcome to Tea Time with Sweetapple. I'm Sweetapple, and today we're going to be having some loose leaf pu'er. Water just finished boiling. Hey, welcome, Sammy. How are you? So glad to have you back. Just going to start off by measuring out 7 grams of this lovely loose leaf pu'er. Yeah, we're going for the Dutch angle today. No, it is a little tilted though. Yeah, let me adjust the legs here. There we go. How's that? Yeah, that's also part of the reason that I need to Oh, that's so exciting. Have you used it yet? I know that I wouldn't be able to resist hopping in and using the new teapot as soon as it arrives. I'm still eyeing the Yiji teapot that you showed me because I found a collector who has I think 3 of them for sale, but I need to figure out the funds for it first. But I haven't stopped thinking about those teapots since you showed it to me. But anyway, what I was saying, uh, the camera angle being weird is exactly why I need to get one of those AC adapters or whatever they're called, where I can just plug my camera in. It has like a fake dummy battery so that I don't have to pick it up and reset the angle every time. Used it already. Dedicated to shoe. Okay. Dedicated to shoe pu'er. Reason why I picked Jan Shui. Right, that's right. It is Jan Shui. Very nice. I'm glad that you're happy with it. Yeah, Jan Shui. I think I was considering getting a Jan Shui teapot for like black tea, since I've already got one for Shu Pu'er. Um, Either that or I would get something even more vitrified than Jan Shui. But uh, I just also like the look of them. I definitely want to get one eventually. I think the you get some pretty nice dark colors from them, as well as pretty subtle muting from what I've read, which is definitely what you're looking for show. Mm. Ooh, that's a nice call. And the you don't find that the Dwani is too muting for you? Because I've read that that's a very porous, pretty porous clay. Right now, I'm pondering to myself if there really is a difference between Lu Bao and loose leaf show pu'er, or really any loose leaf pu'er, because I have a Lu Bao, and the smell so far to this loose leaf pu'er is very similar. So I can't help but wonder if there really is a significant difference between the two. Maybe I'll have to do a side by side. Prep some Lu Bao in the Gaiwan and the last of this show next time I have it. Gotcha, gotcha. That makes sense, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, all that really matters is if you like the tea you're making for yourself. Less coffin taste. That's good. I was deep scrolling on the Instagram page of that teapot maker you showed me of Yishi, and there was a comment that I found, and I had to translate it because the auto translate wasn't working. But I found an app that translates images, and based on that comment, it sounds like he may be making his teapots out of purple clay or like zini clay, which is interesting. So I think it's like wild zini. So he did recommend that it's a teapot that you dedicate. I saw. So now I'm even more interested. I think if I get one, I would probably dedicate it to young Shangs. Or maybe I would dedicate it to the more aged ones because I think because I have the Hongmi, which is a little more porous. Yeah. Either way, it would be fun to see which wild genie can turn that black. Yeah, that's what I said. So it's what is it? They do it with fire. What's the word? Fire. It's not roasted, I don't think. But I think it has to do with the like they use like rice husks and charcoal and whatnot. And I think it's all the byproduct of those materials burning that creates the black. Wood fired, that's what it is. Wood fire reduction. And yeah, so I think that process. But I haven't figured out how he gets those cracks in the teapots. From what I've observed, they form before the firing process. And I think it has to have something to do with the clay being thrown on a wheel, maybe just letting it fully dry. I'm really not sure, but I need to get one of those teapots. But yeah, my birthday is coming up in a couple weeks, so I think I'm just gonna ask everyone for a little, like, don't give me a gift, just give me money, and then I'll pool all the money together, and maybe it'll be enough to get one of those teapots. So we'll have to see. But that's the plan as of now.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
See, this is a chou puer, and it tastes kind of exactly like the Liu Bao that I have. So I really do wonder if like it's the loose leaf process that makes the difference. Because this tastes different than a pressed shoe that I've had, or like any pressed shoe that I've had, but it tastes very, very similar to the Liu Bao I have. So this is definitely making me want to side by side these to compare. Because I'm sure they wouldn't just label them different things arbitrarily. There's got to be some purpose. Hmm. Oh, sent me something on Discord. Cool, cool, cool. Take a look. Hmm. All right, let's see here. Oh wow, that sounds really tasty. I haven't had any shoe that were that sweet, but I've definitely had some shank that were that sweet. The Immortal Dew from West China Tea, for example, is unbelievably sweet and fruity. It blew my mind. But I would love to try some shoopware that's sweet like that. That sounds really tasty. Different fermentation pro. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I got distracted. Someone added me to a playlist. It is a blend, almost no coffin taste, but very sweet. Not wet piled to different fermentation processes. I see. Interesting. So it's a not wet piled show. Because I always thought that the wet piling was kind of what made it show puer. That's really interesting. You should shoot me the name of that. I'd love to look into the process a little bit more for that tea. This is not a good time to restart. Thank you, PC, for asking. I guess noon. But no, that's really interesting. Because yeah, most of my show that I've had, especially when they do kind of end up in the realm of sweets, I I feel like it's more of a malty, kind of almost chocolatey sweetness. I've had a few with very, very subtle fruity notes, but nothing that I would say is overtly sweet, at least yet. So that really intrigues me.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Like the show I'm drinking right now is very dank, kind of forest floor esque. Um, More of the bitter characteristics are kind of coming through over the top. This is actually probably one of the more bitter show puer that I've had. We call it modern puer because of the technique of fermentation they use. They use a new style of fermentation process. Very interesting. Let's see if modern puer brings up anything for me. Hmm. Let's see. Show puer. That is not what I did. Just saw a query saying, why does shoopware taste like compost? And I guess that's probably because it's the same exact chemical process that is going on. Yeah, definitely ask about it. I'm very curious. Um, this is so it's somebody someone local who makes it, or is just a person that you have contact with? Because this has definitely piqued my interest. I'd love to know more. Actually, speaking of tea vendors, this Ukrainian tea vendor hit me up on Instagram this morning. They just introduced themselves and are like, "Would you like some? Would you like to get buy some tea?" I'm like, I mean, I appreciate you reaching out, but I got a good stash at the moment. I'm not really looking to buy. Well, I'm always looking to buy, but the truth is I'm not. I don't have the disposable income at the moment. We in a purchasing lull. He's your tea supplier. Goes to China every 2 weeks and back. Handpick. Ooh, that's what's up. See, I need a tea plug like that for real. I'm so jealous. That sounds dope as hell. You got you got the tea plug for real. That's so dope. I would definitely prefer that over any of the vendors that I purchase through. Although I am happy to support, small business. Big fan of that. But I'm not finding anything about pu'er that's made without wet piling, which is really just makes me more curious. You definitely need to ask your supplier because I need to know more. I'm very curious about this kind of tea. I want to try to get my hands on it. I'm also gonna be forever jealous of those families who buy up tea and store it so that they can hand down their aged pu'er. And so, like the grandparents buy tea, and like you and me, we would be drinking our grandparents' tea, and then our whole life we would be buying tea and aging it, and then like 20, 30 years down the line we would give that tea to like our grandchildren or children depending. And I think that's dope. What a great way to keep a steady supply of high quality tea rather than having to buy expensive ass aged cakes already. You just do it yourself and then hand it down generationally. I think that's so cool. I'm so jealous of that. And I'm also jealous of your tea plug. The only plugs I have are for illicit substances. Oh, and that reminds me. There was a bunch of feds at the apartment complex yesterday, and I had no idea what was going on. But they had like three cop cars, this like sketchy ass van that was like completely unmarked. Might as well have had a free candy sign on the side, you know what I'm saying? And they were like going around knocking on doors and shit. It was sketchy. I don't trust feds. Always makes me feel like just I don't know. I feel some type of way whenever I see too many cops up in my apartment complex. I'm not even up to anything. I just don't trust cops.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
But yeah, I wonder if there's like something sketchy going on in some of these apartments because it's not even it's not even the second time this has happened. It's been like three, maybe four times that I've seen like tons of cops. Yo, you think that's crazy? Maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, but I, there was a dead ass like for real police chase that went through our my apartment complex. I've never seen the likes of it. It was unreal. I seen them also come and like seize somebody's Camaro, which was wild. Yeah, California really is just a GTA server. There might be like the way that there's always cops here, there might be some like a drug lab or something, I swear. I'm like neighbors with a kingpin and I don't even know it. But yeah, I'm sure you've at least been peripherally aware before of like which part of Cali. I'm in the Inland Empire, so I'm like a hour and a half, 2-ish hours from LA, which is where all the madness stems from. There's always those crazy police chases on YouTube that are getting live streamed almost at least weekly. um, so yeah, I'm not far from LA, and so it's pretty wacky out here. It's basically like living in a GTA server. And nobody knows how to drive. It's nutty. I've never felt like I was taking my life in my hands more when I drive than when I go out here. I swear. People just like fully in their own world, completely oblivious of each other, driving these massive vehicles around. It's wild. But we got in and out and legal weed. So, you take the good with the bad, I suppose. But yeah, honestly, if it was a little cheaper to live here, I wouldn't mind so much. But we we're currently living in a not so great part of town and paying a ton of money to be here. But it's where we need to be for my girlfriend to finish school, so that's what we're gonna do, you know? Sometimes you just gotta make do. And I've gotten pretty good at making do. It's not all bad though. There really is a lot of cool stuff. Like we also happen to be really close to like walking distance from like the first ever food truck street in my in like our city. So we got a bunch of dope food trucks, which is like, I mean, come on, who doesn't want some dope food trucks to be around? There's there's the what's the word? Panoramic mountains. Just no matter where you are, you're just always surrounded by mountains, and it's gorgeous. And there's just lots of fun, like quirky stuff, like gray market dispensaries are an absolute trip. Especially if you've never been to a legal dispensary that's like fully above board. If you go to one of these gray market dispensaries that they have in California, it'll blow your mind. Like, it's so funny. It's dope. Um, so California is pretty cool, but there's definitely things that get on my nerves about it too. But yeah, one thing I've learned is that no place is perfect, you know? I've lived in a lot of places at this point, and there's just no perfect place. So you gotta kind of learn to love the positives about where you live and accept the negatives because everywhere's got its pros and cons. They have a street festival in the summers too, which is kind of dope, but so overpriced. It's ridiculous. They had a One Piece lemonade, like the anime, and it was like a collectible bottle, and I was like, oh, that's dope. I can get me a lemonade. What is that? Like $10? Psh, it was like $25. $25 for a little plastic bottle they stuck a Luffy sticker on. I was like, no, 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 we ain't doing that. And that was pretty standard for the vendors there. So it could be a really dope festival, but I am no millionaire, so I can't really afford all the tasty food. But hey, it's all good. You got an apartment with your friends in NoCal. Oh, no way. Yeah, I don't blame you. I bet you it's gorgeous out where you are. Very different culture as well, which some of your families in San Francisco. Oh boy. San Francisco is an interesting place. Another one of those places where there's a ton of really, really dope stuff, but also a lot of things that I could envision being very aggravating to deal with day to day. But yeah, I think the thing that I find grates me the most is just the hyper individualism of American culture. You know, everyone's just kind of looking out for themselves at all times. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get, is that it could be hit or miss in San Francisco. There's definitely things that I'd love to visit it for. Getting my window smashed in and my shit stolen is not one of them. I got I saw enough of that living in Seattle, which was not as bad as San Francisco, but still pretty wild. I remember why I remember watching a dude get kicked out of H Mart when I lived in Seattle, which was across the street from where we lived there. And bro was so mad, so he just goes and rips the windshield wiper, like the rear windshield wiper, off this random car and throws it in the street. So now I gotta, like, I'm curious to see the owner's reaction when they come back for their car. And that was kind of the pastime in Seattle, was definitely a lot of people watching. That's the fun thing with like big metropolitan areas like that, is there's a lot of good people watching. Oh my goodness, the amount of stories from Seattle are wild. Every time I go back, one thing I notice is how humid it is. Yeah, I can imagine up a little bit more north, it gets way more humid. Seattle was brutal. Like, we were I don't even know if I could like store tea in Seattle, because we were just constantly battling mold like in our walls and stuff like that. It was so humid that once summer came around, you'd have to like annually take a pass with like distilled vinegar or bleach or something and just like kill off all the mold. It was rough. And of course, like, it's all these old buildings, and like half of them don't actually have AC, which brutal. Though I'm sure back when they built those buildings, it was much more temperate. Yeah, I don't miss humidity, but I could stand to live somewhere that's a little bit cooler than it is here. Like, dry heat, but also not 100 degrees in the summer would be great, because it's basically been 100 plus for a solid week now. But this week is supposed to be in the 90s, and I've noticed that the AC in my apartment, it tends to become overwhelmed as soon as the temperature gets over 100. Like 97, we're good, we Gucci. It's the AC's got us. It may not be like cool in the apartment, but it won't be hot. As soon as it's like 101, we're cooking. We're just cooking inside of the apartment. And there's nothing you can do about it. Ugh, yeah, the drivers. I've lived all over the US, and without a doubt, like, it's not even close. California by far has the worst drivers I've ever seen in all my years. Like, it makes me want to not drive. It's that bad. The traffic around here can get bad just because we're close to LA, and you get a ton of people that are, coming in and out of the city for work. So at certain times of day, the traffic can be really bad out here. But if you're just driving within your own little town, or you pick your times right, it's not too bad. You can definitely adjust to the rhythm of it. I can't imagine living in LA. The traffic down there must be an absolute nightmare trying to deal with that traffic. I feel so bad for people who have to drive from like out here and go into LA. Though there is the train. I suppose you could try to take the train and travel on buses, but I don't know how good the bus system in LA is, to be frank. I do. I realize though a lot of times how many of my gripes about where I live could be resolved with good public transportation, and it just makes me that much more obsessed with trains. I want trains everywhere. I want a national high-speed rail for the U.S. That would go so hard. That's also why I think about hopefully, once my girlfriend finishes her PhD, I know me and her talk about maybe trying to move back to Toronto, which a lot of it just depends on, job availability, what's out there, um, where is, what places are interested in offering her jobs and such. But it would get us closer to family for one. But also, Toronto has like a pretty decent public transit infrastructure. They got like these trains that go all the way out into the suburbs, so you don't even have to live directly in the city, which could help save money a little bit. Not a ton. It's still expensive. Um, but also, I would be eligible for disability back home in Canada. Uh, there's also a lot of grants for musicians. Like I could get up to 10K a year in grants just to make music because Canada is very much investing in its arts and its cultural development. Um, Healthcare wouldn't be an issue, which would be nice. So there's definitely things that are more expensive in Canada, but I feel like it all kind of evens out for like the fact that a lot of the essential things are covered. But housing is pretty rough. But hopefully by the time we're looking to move there, things will be a little bit more sorted out. But yeah, the just being somewhere where I can take a train, go to like a hockey game or a concert or something, get a little litty, and not have to worry about, oh, now I gotta drive in traffic and I gotta, make sure to limit myself on my drink consumption so that I'm good to drive and this, that, and the other. I could just take a train, go have fun, turn up, take the train home, easy peasy. And it's cheap. It's so cheap. Taking the train is so much cheaper than owning a car. It's not even funny. I remember living in Seattle and they don't even have very good public transit in Seattle. Uh, we basically never drove our car. Now, that was partly because we had to park our car in a neighborhood that took 30 minutes to get to from our apartment just because parking was so unaffordable, but it was nice being in a walkable city where we could just, take a train or a bus or just hoof it wherever we need to go. It was also just, I felt so much healthier just walking everywhere, which is definitely something I miss. Uh, Love Toronto, visited twice, mostly just go downtown, but love the atmosphere there. Yeah, Toronto is beautiful. Toronto is kind of the music hub of Canada as well. It's sort of like Canada's LA, but just the music part. Vancouver's more of the film area. Um, but my dream for a long time has been to live in Little Portugal in Toronto. 'Cause that seems like a really dope neighborhood. But yeah, it's seems like such a great city. Tons and tons of fun stuff to do. Pretty solid public transit. The only real knock I have against Toronto, other than the laughs, is the cost of living. Yeah, lots of cool bars, lots of cool restaurants too. I'm a bit of a foodie. Also, one thing, this is so East Coast of me, but one thing that I've not been able to find since moving to the West Coast is Jamaican beef patties. I can't find those anywhere. And Toronto has a huge Jamaican population. So not only would I be able to get my beef patty fix, but it would be the best directly from authentic Jamaicans. You know what I'm saying? That'd be lit. That's another like plus talking about the food though is the cultural diversity in Toronto is amazing. So you would be able to get just all kinds of different food. Um, most big cities have great diversity, so it's not like that's unique to Toronto, but Toronto just happens to have a large quantity of people that are from my favorite food cultures. Love lots of Jamaican food, love Japanese and Chinese food. And I know Toronto has amazing dim sum. There's lots of really dope dim sum restaurants. I think there's even some tea houses in Toronto, which Lord knows I'd be spending a lot of time there. um, but yeah, I really would love to live in Toronto. Also, just being in a hockey city again would be dope. I've always been a huge hockey fan. Living in Seattle was fun because I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, so I was so close to my home team, and I never went to a game. But eventually, I'll get to a Canucks game. Well, a home game. I've been to lots of Canucks games, but I have a dream one day. Eventually, I want to go to a game in every NHL arena. I've actually got a decent handful of them knocked out. I've been to lots in Buffalo, Columbus. I went to one in Seattle. I feel like I'm forgetting. I don't know, but I'm near like 4 arenas right now because there's LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, Vegas Golden Knights, and San Jose is a little bit far, but still, close enough. Jesse Tea House. Interesting. I didn't know that he was based in Canada. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on him. I haven't had any of his tea, so I can't really speak to that, but I've definitely seen a lot of people say that oh, Vancouver. That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that or a lot of people accuse him of being a glorified drop shipper for tea. But I hope that's not true because I do like his videos. It's very commercial. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't think it's probably not bad, but it doesn't strike me as a company where I would get the best tea from, and definitely not a place that I would be finding deals with. But I do respect the hustle, and I think that his videos probably do a lot for getting Westerners more into tea. We can thank Boston for the lack of interest in tea in the U.S. As always, blame Boston. It's actually pretty wild though how that inflection moment of the Boston Tea Party genuinely resulted in tea becoming not popular and coffee becoming the mainstay. Because then it kind of became patriotic to drink coffee instead of tea. They tried to do that with French fries after 9/11, but I don't think it quite worked out the same. Although Americans do love French fries, I think they liked them before 9/11. But I saw somebody joking about they're gonna bring back freedom fries a couple weeks ago, so that would be honestly that'd be a little surreal. But I'd love to have a tea shop that I get to know the owners of, because most of them, in my experience, the vendors tend to be pretty small businesses. So I'd love to get to know one that's like local to me, and I can get familiar with the owners, and yeah, just build that relationship and have it be more than just like, oh, this is where I go and buy tea. make it a little more homey, a little more relational. Oh my god, yes. Poutine is so good. I love poutine. It's yeah. I make that I make that at home a lot cuz it's so good. Bacon bits is a great move. I like to do ground beef. Hey, Pocket Man, welcome. How you doing? I'm so glad to see you. But yeah, I like to and this is just how I grew up eating it is my dad always made ground beef and then he'd use the fat to make gravy and that's what we would top our poutine with. And then some cheese curds. But we got a lot of really great poutineries that throughout Canada where you can get all sorts of wild preparations of it. It's honestly awesome. I tend to be pretty vanilla, but I've tried a few different variations before. Definitely had a cheeseburger type one that was really good. Not quite. Poutine is French fries, and then you put some cheese curds on it, and you throw some hot hot gravy on top, and that melts all the cheese curds. But you can also add different proteins, different types of cheese and whatnot. But that's what the like original poutine is. Yeah, it's like the ultimate drunk food. Oil from the bacon, I use it for the gravy. Ooh, that sounds great. But yeah, I would say that poutine is probably one of the single greatest contributions to the world Canada has made. Dang, my apologies. It's definitely not trying to give you the munchies. That's real. Yeah. If you're feeling a little too turnt, have some poutine and that'll it'll even you out. That and like ultra greasy bucket slice pizza. Those are like the two penultimate drunk foods for me. I remember when I was in Columbus once, me and some friends were doing a bar crawl and we just stopped at this random pizzeria and got the greasiest pizza I've ever had. But when you're turnt, the greasier the better for real. You made teriyaki chicken for dinner today. Mom ended up liking it and ate your meal prep. Oh no. Well, I'm glad she liked it. Oh, that's really funny. It is, yeah. It's a loose leaf mao chop, I believe is the term. You would probably know better than I, but this is what I'm sipping on. Yeah, beer and pizza. Name a more iconic duo, am I right? Yeah. I would definitely say this definitely has a musky quality to it. I was actually comparing it to the Liu Bao I have earlier, um, trying to kind of determine the difference between loose leaf pu'er and Liu Bao, actually, because to me this tastes very similar, kind of dank, a little bit bitter, but you know, positive. Yeah, coffin notes, as Sammy puts it. um, there is like a subtle sweetness, but it's mostly those, you know, kind of dank, earthy tones. And then a sort of like dark chocolate type bitterness, but without the cocoa note. Like almost like hard to describe, but it suggests that kind of cocoa-y bitterness without really hitting that cocoa note. Like fresh peanuts. Interesting. That's funny. We were actually just talking about interesting pu'er because Sammy has a really interesting show pu'er that I was curious about that hopefully they'll be able to ask their supplier about and get some more info. But fresh peanuts sounds really tasty. Like unroasted, you mean? That's really interesting. Mmm. Yes. I'm already a step ahead of you, Sammy. I think I know where you're going. Spring water from Taiwan. Mmm. Yeah, the water definitely is an important factor. I tend to underrate how much that can affect the flavor at times. Very nice. Sammy and I, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that. Teapots are very expensive, and I will continue to recklessly spend my money on them regardless. But uh, Sammy showed me these teapots. One second. And I am just absolutely in love. So these are apparently made from wild zini, and I just stunning, absolutely stunning. Just what? Unbelievable. I've been obsessed with these ever since Sammy showed me these. Right? I've I've never seen a teapot that looks quite like these. I found a vendor. So apparently what this artist does is his teapots get curated for exhibits, and then the places putting on the exhibits will sell the teapots. So I found a place based in Munich that has a couple still for sale. So I'm hoping that I can guilt people into giving me money for my birthday in a couple weeks to get one. Yeah, that's a great question. Um, they said that they don't use any additives to get the texture, and they're wood fired, and apparently they're made from purple clay, like wild purple clay, or purple sand was the literal translation of the the info I gathered. But I have no idea. I've never seen anything like this. I'm not sure how much, you know, it would impart flavor, although they did say it's porous enough that you should dedicate them to a specific tea. But yeah, I just have so many questions about them. Even if I just get it as an art piece to look at though, and I end up not really using it, I want one so badly because they are just absolutely stunning. Yeah. Actually, I think there's videos of the pour. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Uh, yeah. They said that it actually. I remember reading that they particularly recommend with Shang. So it seems, based on what they describe, that it doesn't mute the flavor or impart mineral flavor a whole ton, but you can never really know. Yeah, I suppose the only way to find out is to get one. So I'm gonna have to try to guilt a lot of people into giving me money so I can buy one. But yeah, I was telling Sammy my plan is because my birthday's in a couple weeks. Uh, that I wanted to. I'm just gonna ask people to give me money. They're what, $300 to $400. So not by any means cheap, but not stratospherically expensive. So I think we'll see. We'll see if I get some good love from friends and family on my birthday. I may be able to get one, and then we'll have some. Definitely not worth the money. That's fair. I honestly just think they're absolutely stunning. Like, I think they're just a visual work of art.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this,
Cause yeah, I've never really seen anything like that, and I would love to have one in my collection. Like I said, even if it's just to look at it. That's fair. That's fair. Like I said, I'd be out here just reckless spending my money. Why did I pour that already? I'm being goofy. I'd just be spending my money reckless on tea wear. Yeah, no, I hear. Yeah, that's definitely valid. I think that this is a an up and coming artist as well, because the posts that I've translated, they've definitely been refining their process. They also, what's really interesting, and I think it's a big part of how they get these textures, is that they throw their pots on a wheel rather than hand forming it like most Yixing clay. No, that's so valid. You've definitely got more experience in this realm than I do. But living in the States, I just get to look at stuff on the internet and be like, ooh, pretty. But yeah, I think this is I think it's just really interesting and unique. And just as even a collectible, I just think I need it. I deeply desire and need it.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
if you're hearing this, I love you.
Wow, yeah, Taiwan really do. They got the best prices. Cuz everything that I get, I have to pay the cost of import, and usually there's not a tax because I think you have to spend like 10 grand or like something ridiculous, not 10 grand, but like $800 or something absurd to get dinged by the tax. But the shipping is very expensive. So everything that we get out here, like you're realistically for any sort of Yixing teapot is probably going to be at least $150 for just one teapot by itself. But yeah, there's definitely a balance between, you know, art and form and function. Are you scrolling their page now? It's definitely fascinating. It instantly entranced me. I've never seen anything like this. So I started, you know, reading what I could with the auto translate and even took some screenshots to try translating some stuff. But this is exactly why I want to try learning some Mandarin, at least like the basics, to be able to get a little bit more information without having to go through so many hoops.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Sammy is just a verified globetrotter. They got apartments all over the place. always a bit of a shame when one of your favorite spots gets gentrified into a tourist location. It's bittersweet because it's nice to see people engage with what you love and fall in love with it like you did growing up, but it's also kind of a shame to not be able to engage with it the same way you used to because of tourism. But I remember you mentioning Sun Moon Lake before Pocket Man, so I know you've got a soft spot for there. Yeah, if I ever get the chance to come out to Thailand, I'm definitely gonna try to make my way to Sun Moon Lake based on your recommendation. There's an island called Green Island in the coast of Taiwan, and it's my go-to diving spot, way different compared to other parts of Taiwan. By the tongue and stomach. I know what you mean. That's how I feel about Buffalo, New York, honestly. The food in Buffalo is just unbelievable. Like I've never had like more eclectic and delicious food. It's the best food city in the US, and no one can convince me otherwise. So I definitely know how that is. I didn't know you dived, Sammy. How long you been is it scuba diving, I assume? How long you done that for? Are we muted? Oh. Am I free later? Uh, yeah, what do you need?
The number you have dialed is not available.
Oh wow, you've been diving basically your whole life since 15. Shoot, that's dope. It's always fun to be able to yeah, for sure. It's always really awesome to have those kind of activities to share with family members like that. It's always special. That's fair. Yeah, salt water really dries you right out. I can always feel it when I get out how dry my skin is after being in salt water. So I can empathize a little bit. Oh, that is dope. What's the deepest you've gone so far?
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
50 to 60 meters. Wow. So would that be deep enough that you have to do the thing where you slowly come up and allow your body to adjust so you don't get the bends? I don't know the most about diving. I do know that there's a point where you gotta, make sure that the your body kind of equalizes as you come up. Otherwise, you can get some issues. Yes, but not that long. Okay, interesting. So that's probably so then based on your response, I would say that's probably just starting to get into that threshold of where you got to start really considering that. That's really interesting. I think diving is so fascinating and also in some regards a little bit terrifying when you get into that really like the really deep dives. Um
The number you have dialed is not
Dry
available
fuel
at
or the
present. Please leave
tanks?
your message after
Good
the beep.
question.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Yeah, the this all the different gear and technology behind diving is just I think it's so dope. Most of what I learned is just from like YouTube and stuff though. I don't really have any first-hand experience. Maybe someday. Oh, this has been steeping for a long time. Tanks. I imagine the dry fuel is probably pretty expensive. But yeah, diving seems like a lot of fun. I've always been even when I was really young, I always was an avid swimmer. So someday I'll have to work on getting certified so I can do a dive and enjoy, you know, some ocean. I'm getting a little feeling the tea a little bit, but enjoy a little oceanic exploration. I can imagine, yeah, the ocean is so immense, and there's just so many things that could possibly happen. You could lose your sense of up, for example, or a random shark could pull up and be aggressive, or any number of creatures, honestly. Or you could get snagged on something, You could run out of oxygen. Yeah, I can definitely imagine that it could be there's it could get scary. Um, that's why it's probably good to have people who are experienced with you, especially when you're starting out, and even when you aren't a novice. If you brew tea with salt water, won't that make that salt tea? I think you might be right, Pocket Man. I think you might be right. I do kind of wonder though if you do a little bit of just a little teeny bit of salt, how that would affect the tea because it is a flavor enhancer. Oh, I bet the Philippines are a beautiful place to dive. Oh, interesting. So they do a lot to take care of the oceans out there. That's great. It's a famous spot for diving. Okay, that's awesome. I see. I mean, hey, cheap is good. I like cheap. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of times there's certain things where, you get what you pay for, and then there's things that you should definitely look for a bargain on. And I feel like if you're paying to swim in the ocean, to me that feels like a bargain thing because the ocean is free. But your diving gear is probably something you should spend the coin on. Oof. Yeah, killer whales would be scary. They seem mean, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, even if you don't dive, I feel like you know that orcas are scary. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've seen the way that they hunt, the way that they just like bully the seals before they eat them. Messed up. Although I will say, I do love the way they take out yachts. I love to see them engage in a little bit of class warfare, you know what I'm saying? But genuinely I don't want to find myself face to face with an orca. That would be yeah, that would be terrifying. I think my wetsuit would suddenly find itself with a built-in heater if you catch my drift.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
They're cool to watch from afar though. I like orcas are fascinating creatures, but yeah, I don't want to get too close to one. To be frank, I don't even think I'd want to get too close to just a like a blue whale or any other kind of whale. Any of those gigantic creatures, I feel like they could just kill you by accident just due to the sheer mass of those animals. They're amazing though. It's kind of unreal that creatures that immense are on the same planet as us. Good night. Yeah, I bet. Because the ocean's already like pretty dark when you're diving, but I imagine at night it's just pitch black no matter how deep you are. Definitely, they're one of those creatures that, yeah, I don't want to see up close and personal, but I really do find them very interesting. They're super intelligent and incredible hunters, but ooh, giant manta rays, yes. Giant manta rays are amazing. I remember actually my family was on vacation when we were really young, and we were snorkeling. I think we were in the Caribbean somewhere on one of those like cruise ship resorts, and my dad went to get a camera, like one of those waterproof cameras, the disposable wind up ones from forever ago. And on his way back, a giant manta ray swam under him. And this was after recently after Steve Irwin had passed away, so it just scared him stiff. He comes back and he's like, "Guys, I almost died." And we're like, "What?" He goes, "I saw a manta ray." And I was really into animals and stuff, so I knew that it was probably not interested in him at all. I was like, "You're fine." Did you get a picture? He goes, "I almost died." But that was a lot of fun. I remember I saw a sea cucumber, which was wild. Um, there's a little shipwreck that I question whether or not was put there intentionally for tourists to go and look at. But yeah, the ocean is amazing. I grew up, well, I didn't grow up, but my family is from the Maritimes in Canada, and fishing is the big industry there. So I've always had a love for the ocean. My family all grew up on the ocean. I spent a lot of time, you know, on fish, like out fishing with family and stuff like that when I would visit home. So yeah, I love the ocean. I love being near the ocean. It's it's really just, yeah, it feels like home, you know? Especially when you can hear the water. You just wake up and you hear the waves crashing. Yeah, I figure, I mean, I suppose I don't know if it's a good way to recycle ships that aren't going to be used otherwise, but I suppose it's better than sinking it in the ocean to not be a tourist destination. I do kind of wonder how many ships are really at the bottom of the ocean. There's got to be a lot. At some point, we're just gonna have an ocean floor made of boats. But I do miss being around the water, going jigging and things like that. Oh, I remember I also saw an eel. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of electronics because we moved to the States when I was pretty young, and due to my parents' jobs, we pretty much I was pretty much raised by the internet, to be honest. So I did spend some time outside, I will say, and that those are the majority of like my fondest memories as a kid. But I was definitely raised by YouTube and video games. I even remember the predecessor to YouTube, a website called stupidvideos.com that was popular for like 5 minutes in the US. And it was basically just YouTube before YouTube. But yeah, I definitely wish I had more opportunity to be outdoors and explore, but we were in the US in the concrete jungle, so it's not like it was exactly safe for kids to go running around. It was different, arguably more traumatic. I saw a lot of dead bodies as a child, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if unfettered access to the internet was so great for me, but yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was that different. You know, we played consoles. By the time I was in middle school, it was yeah, gore websites were wild back then. And by the time I was in middle school, you know, online gaming was a pretty big thing. Um, I remember playing tons of like Halo and all that as a kid growing up. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely the best times of my childhood were the times where I was able to just kind of wander and be outside and just explore, which is definitely something that you can't really do as much in the States just because of infrastructure mostly. It's not even so much about like the crime and the danger as much as just like you gonna get hit by a car because everything is car infrastructure out here. I think honestly, I feel like that more than anything, like more than the technology and the video games and all that, is the main reason that kids aren't really outside. Is just because, at least in the States, if you try to go play outside, you're competing with cars, and the squishy body of a 10-year-old ain't gonna hold up against a Ford F-150. But yeah, gore websites were nuts. Ooh, Yosemite. I've never been, but I would love to. Honestly, I haven't been to a lot of the U.S. Parks.
If you're hearing this,
I spent most of my time in the States in urban and suburban areas. But yeah, I definitely would love to visit some more of the parks, especially because I'm fairly close to a lot of the some of the like really great parks right now. I'd love to get to the Sequoia National Park before we leave California. That's definitely a bucket list item. Um, Death Valley, I guess. I don't know. There's a there's a spot out in the desert, actually very close, like less than an hour away, I think, called Slab City or something like that. And it's a anarchist art community. And yeah, it's just people putting up random art displays, and it's basically a commune of artists. It seems like a cool spot. I'd love to visit that and see the displays that people have set up. But yeah, I really haven't gone to many of the U.S. parks. I'd love to go to Yellowstone as well. Yellowstone seems just stunning. Hopefully it won't erupt while I'm there. Hopefully it won't erupt ever, to be honest. Yeah, I think my camera's about to die, so probably wrap up here for today. But Canada's mountains and forests even more so. I agree. I think a lot of that is just due to the fact that Canada hasn't developed as much space as the US, and they don't need to. The population isn't nearly as big. But I think Canada has a good opportunity if they're smart about infrastructure to build denser and walkable communities rather than building out like the US did, prioritizing car infrastructure. And that would let us preserve a lot more of that beauty long term. But Yeah, once Yellowstone pops, it's GG's for everyone. Winter forever. Which is so wild to think about, honestly. The fact that one geological event could basically end the whole world, and theoretically, it could happen at any time. For real, for real. Yellowstone is low key scary as hell. I just try not to think about it. But yeah, I appreciate you hanging out, Sammy. It's always a treat to talk to you. I hope to see you again soon. I'm gonna wrap things up here before my camera dies. But thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Thank you everybody who tuned in or is watching the VOD. I appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see you again soon.